Hi, I'm Jackie Lacey, Los Angeles County District Attorney. I love being around you guys, and the people who work here are just so uplifting. I really enjoy spending time with them because they're doing such a positive thing in the community. I was raised in the Crenshaw District, which is a working class neighborhood, mostly African American. And I went to public schools. Ended up going to UC Irvine undergraduate and USC for law school. And after passing the bar and becoming a lawyer, by accident, really, I ended up in a prosecutor's office. I thought I was going to do entertainment law. I didn't know the law would be quite as entertaining as criminal justice cases are. But I worked my way up from literally the bottom of the office to the number 2 spot, which is the chief deputy of the office, and now I'm the newly elected district attorney. I've been in office since last year, November 6th. After the civil rights era in the 70s, the neighborhood that I grew up in was plagued by gang violence. It was the advent of the Crips and the Bloods were at war. And at that time, in the 70s, I went to Dorsey High School, and there were a lot of kids who lost their lives to gang violence, either being involved in a gang or being near a gang or walking through a gang-infested neighborhood. And my neighborhood, I walked to and from school, and my neighborhood had a lot of that gang rivalry going on. It was not uncommon, for instance, to be at a party and have it erupt into a stampede because someone fired a shot or someone took out a knife. And so I consider myself very fortunate to have come out of that when you think about it. At the time you don't think about it, but now I think, gee, I could have easily been the victim of a violent crime. I could have easily been a gang member. I could have easily been in prison now, not on this side of the table, prosecuting criminal justice cases. We have come so far, and not that justice is perfect, not that our city is perfect, but when you look back at Rodney King, when you look back at the relationship between minority communities and law enforcement, and where we are now, when you see back then it was law enforcement patrolling your neighborhoods, you felt like you were under surveillance, right? That's the way people felt. That's the way people looked at law enforcement. All of law enforcement looked alike. They were males. They were white males. Now when you look, you see women with bars and stripes on their shoulders. You see people of color holding leadership positions. And the face of justice has changed. That is what progress is all about. And so it is very, very different than the way it was during the Rodney King era. Law enforcement freely walks around the community, and it many times is embraced. They're addressed by name. They know people by name. And we're a better society for it. Crime rates are down. They're the lowest they've ever been in 60 years. What I'd love to be able to do in a perfect world is like the movie where the guy was able to predict crime before it happened and stop it. That's what preventative programs like Hollenbeck Youth Center do. They look at the high-risk areas where people or kids have been lost to the criminal justice system, and they say, what if we intervened in their lives? And we gave them an opportunity. We gave them love, support, resources, something to do after school besides hang out with the gangs. What if we did that and prevented them from entering a life of crime? What if we introduced them to their first professionals ever, their first college grads ever? What if we gave them a role model, such as a famous Hollenbeck Youth Center graduate, and said, you know what? This guy was no different from you, and look at what they're doing now. You can do it also. That's really what it's about. It's about preventing it before it ever starts. That's it. That's in the ideal world. And that's why Hollenbeck Youth Center and many other crime prevention programs, like ones we administer in the DA's office, are so important to keeping kids out of trouble. They provide an alternative before they get down that road. If Hollenbeck Youth Center is there, available to that kid, then that kid has a chance, right? And that's where we peel off a lot of the kids who would be lost to gangs and just criminal behavior. Before we coined this term community-based policing, Hollenbeck has been in existence 40 years. The inner city games have been in existence 20 years. And sports is one of those things where, for good, bad, or indifferent, it has really broken down racial prejudices, broken down stereotypes. And it's a great partnership between the business community, the police, and the community at large. And it really led the way in terms of communicating, having fun together, and really keeping kids out of trouble that way. And so it's been revolutionary. And now, of course, they have a term for it, community-based policing. But back then it was just an idea, and a great idea. Well, Hollenbeck model is the way to go. It has been replicated nationwide. It just takes people like the Hernandez family to care enough to invest the time. I'm sure there are a lot of hours that go into it, getting people to cooperate, getting people to do what needs to be done. But it is the model, and it should be replicated. If it isn't in certain communities, then someone ought to take the lead. But it has, they've won my heart at Hello from the first time that I participated in the Miracle on First Street parade. Saw all these kids lined up, particularly those kids that, are disabled, and the look of gratitude on their face when they got, their one toy. How can your heart not melt? How can you not see that this is a good, positive thing to happen in the community, and to bring the community closer to law enforcement and to the business community? When you see all the volunteers, all the donations they get from places like Big Five, this is a great thing, and it has really brought a lot of peace and pride to that community. I've seen the evidence of how they use the money, the scenes that they set on the First Street, the amount of toys, the amount of kids that they service, the amount of families that they help, the resources that have gone into that very beautiful state-of-the-art gym that they have. This is money well spent and well invested in the community. There are a number of places where I'm sure corporate dollars could be spent, but this is one where, in addition to making money, which corporations, of course, are designed to make a profit, you can meaningfully give back to the lives of children and see those lives grow up to be productive citizens. So why wouldn't you want to give? I certainly, in my own way, have given a small amount to Hollenbeck Youth Center. I think that most people who have visited, who have been there, who participated, understand that it is really money very well spent. God bless them, right? Because there are a lot of other things that they could be doing, but they care enough about this particular community, as small as it may be. And they care enough about this particular community to invest in it, to advocate for them year-round, to make sure that there are things there and opportunities there for these children to have, that despite their economic status, that they could still realize the American dream. We are Inner City Games.